Ready to expose parts of the letters between the flowers. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn my text box on, and I'm going to take a look real quick and see how it's fitting in the space. I think it's a little small, so I'm going to grab my text tool and I'm going to highlight the text, and I'm going to increase this as much as I can. I'm going to show you what happens when you increase it too much. So if I do 265, that's a pretty good number. Let's go to 270. All right, what has happened is the excess letters that didn't fit in this box have now moved to an extra box. Think of it like writing a Word doc. You move to page 2. That's not going to work for us, so I'm going to go back to my 265. I think that was a good number. If you have May or June, you might even go higher because you don't have as much to confine into a box. So I'm going to stick to 265. The other thing I'm noticing though is as I make the letters bigger, my flowers are not looking quite full enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the top layer, and I'm going to hold shift and select the bottom layer. Now these are all flower layers. I haven't selected the text. And I'm going to come down here to the link icon. That's going to allow me to adjust all of them at the same time. So I'm doing Command T to transform, and I'm going to expand out. Now I'm expanding out probably a little more than I normally would, but that's because I don't have as many flowers as you do for this sample. And also keep in mind too, you can take your image past this outer blue box. It's the text that can't go outside of this area. Okay. All right, these are all linked together, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and unlink them though. And since they're already selected, I'm going to make a group out of them, and I'm going to call this flowers. Okay, I want to preserve my original work. This is a lot of work that I've done. So I'm going to make a copy by doing Command J of that layer, of that folder. And I'm just going to turn off the eyeball on the flowers. And then I'm going to have my text tool still on. And I'm going to open up my copy. All right. So now I have all of these flowers that are in a folder. I'm going to make the entire folder's opacity go lower. And what I'm doing this for is so that I can see the text. Okay, now layer masks. Now I can go into individual flowers and I can start taking out parts of them to reveal the letters. So I'm going to start off with the N and the O. I'm going to make this a layer mask, and I'm going to grab my brush. Make sure your brush is set on black to erase and white to bring back, so the X key on your keyboard actually changes these two back and forth. All right, I've decided, looking at this, that I like the idea of this front flower in the front, but I want to get rid of this part of the flower so it looks like that part's going back. So I'm going to grab my brush and I'm going to go ahead and erase just that portion. The bracket next to the P on your keyboard is going to give you a nice choice of sizes for your brush. The left one makes it smaller, the big one makes it bigger. So here I've got that. If you end up taking too much away, just click X and switch to white. And this only works when you're in the layer mask. If you are not in the layer mask, it will paint, which is the opposite of what you want. So you want to make sure that you're in this white box. And if you want to check it to see how it's doing, just go back up to the copy and turn it back on and see what it looks like. So I'm liking this. I need to work on the edge though. I need to take away, I think, a little more And I can hold my shift key as I do this too, so it'll keep it nice and straight. Okay, good. And then also I'm noticing that the selection tool didn't do the best job at getting the background away, so I'm just gonna come in here and edit. This takes time. It's gonna look so nice when you go in here slowly and really take a look at what needs to go and what needs to stay, emphasizing certain parts of the flower just by bringing parts of it forward and having some of it overlap with the text. So just doing that is revealing a little bit of the N in the background, which is nice. And this is not permanent. You have a chance to use X to turn between black and white, so it's non-destructively editing your flower. All right. I do want to suggest if you want to try using the tablet for this. I like it because of the pen pressure that it creates while you're creating your project. I find it more relaxing for my hand than having to hold down the mouse. Okay, there's a lot of editing that needs to go into this. I definitely need to go in and take some of this background away, but I just wanted to show you maybe how we could work with this O. Let's go back and change the opacity down. Okay, so this front flower is blocking a lot of the O right now, and I want to get rid of the part that's on the inside. So I'm just gonna switch to create. It's got a layer mask already, so I'm gonna leave that layer mask on, and then I'm gonna come in here and just leave the flower that's on the right. And I'm going to reveal the background. Actually, I screwed that up. Let's think about this. If I'm taking the part on the O away, then I need to be on the front of the O, not the back. You have a thing with positive and negative space where you have to figure out what the letters, the positive space, and then we have things going in the front and also the back. So we have to make sure you know what you're erasing and what you're not erasing. Also, pay attention to the edges of the flower, especially with a lot of texture. Because if you use your layer mask, you can actually like ruin the edge and it could look like a cutout. So it just takes a lot of patience to go back in and Alright, next video I am going to show you the last final steps and we'll be ready to turn this in.